wants to run one of the biggest city in America. And like, yes, talk that shit, but between all of us, this is one of the best developments that's happened in a long time, because they're now unmasking themselves. Their preference, the Democrats' preference in that primary was a socialist. They can't hide from it anymore. Can't hide.
Well, to be fair, New York has closed primaries, so yes, you're right. The Democrats own it. Independents couldn't vote, and non-affiliated party members, which you can label them independents, but some people just don't register. They have really weird restrictions when it comes to primaries. And the Democrats can say, you can say this, like, he overwhelmingly won. So now, and you did it through your ranked choice voting, so you got what you wished for. However, I don't know if the independents, I don't know if again, you haven't seen the bulk of the financial markets come in, a lot of the businesses in there. I can't imagine that there's very much support. What I see here, and it wasn't even a record turnout for this guy, for this election, so it wasn't like some great fucking achievement. And what I will see is probably independents shift over to vote for whoever's next in line and maybe pass him over, which may be a saving grace. But the more this guy gets pushed out by progressives, the dumber he's going to look, because he really doesn't have an answer to absolutely anything to go through. Like, why are you stopping at $30 for New York City? Why not do $100? Why not do $1,000 per hour? Is it, what is the rationale for just jumping it to $30? The cost of living there? Oh, you're going to be able to stop inflation with price controls for rent? No, that didn't happen. What about the other goods? Oh, you're going to make free subways? Okay, so that's going to draw down your tax pool. You're not collecting money. And the amount, I don't get it. It's almost as bad as Hochul's, what was that? The gas tax or the transportation tax that you wanted to implement. If you had to travel into New York City, you had to pay a tax. Like, these ideas are dumb. And it always seems to affect middle income and poor people more so than it does these, socialists that want to sit atop of the food chain and just make these stupid fucking policies that really undermine your ability to have an everyday life.
Yeah, I think all that's fair. I just think that there's not enough people recognizing what a huge gift this thing is. In fact, if the guy would have lost in the primary, you wouldn't have that, right? Like if Cuomo won, for example, if he would have won and advanced, it would have been business as usual. There would have been no additional ammunition. I think this is such a good thing, especially how radical that guy is. I think him represent. Look, if he was running as an independent, it'd be one thing, but he's not.
Well, as soon as he defunds the police, or the police turn their back, and let's not forget, the police did this in New York City. They turned their back on de Blasio. They decreased their visibility. They didn't go to necessarily every cause. And what was the community in New York City screaming about? Well, we need to get this under control, blah, 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 blah. You guys did a 180 after defund the police movement ended, and in fact increased and wanted to bring about more training, more police on scenes to control more of it. You were terrified around New Year's Eve. You were terrified around multitude of events. And now you want to end all that because now this guy's up here and these progressives think some fat, obese social worker at whatever rate you're going to pay them is somehow going to fix the crime problem. No, that's not going to happen. No, there's no way in hell. We did this shit twice in my lifetime, and it has never fucking worked.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this, and I disagree with Thundercat saying that if he wins, we're done. Look, I will feel bad for the people of New York City, but I think net it would be a good thing if this guy wins, because he would run the city into the fucking ground, and it'll be the use case that we can point to from here to eternity. And so look, take it out of the textbooks, man. Like, everybody romanticizes these ideas, and they think that, you know, because it sounds nifty, that somehow it's going to work. I want to see it happen. I genuinely want to see it happen. In fact, this is going to sound crazy, but when Bernie Sanders was running, I was hoping that he would have gotten the Democratic nomination and could have put those ideas front and center. And I would even be willing to sacrifice to a 4-year term of somebody like a Sanders or an AOC. I understand that sounds crazy, but what we have to do is we have to see once and for all when the fucking real radicals, because let's be honest, we say that Biden is radical because he had bad ideas. We said Obama was radical because he had bad ideas. But they're not even the radicals. Those are like the moderately bad ideas. Just imagine if the real fucking like motherlode of all bad ideas was given the executive branch. It would be a terrible time for America, but I think it would be able to mark a moment in time of just to be able to say, this is how bad this is how people in Europe learned how bad socialism was. They had to go through it.
Are you referring particularly to like Switzerland, how they went through their little, what was it, 40-year, 30-year period of socialism and then flipped and said, oh, hell no, we're going bankrupt, we can't.
Well, that's one example. I'm thinking more of like, you know, the goddamn former Soviet bloc countries. I mean, like, if you ever talk to an American that came from like somewhere like Romania and, you know, and lived through just the motherload of bad ideas, like, they become the best Americans. Like, I can't... Honestly, like, my favorite Americans I've ever met are from Romania. They fucking get it because they've lived through it. And when they hear these ideas, they're like, oh, fuck. Some people from Latin America, too, fit the same thing. They were, you know, they'd gone through, the implementation of these bad ideas. And so I actually think, you know, the U.S. going through a period of this would be good for us. That being said, it'll have a short-term pain, and I can understand why people would want to avoid that. I'm thinking long game, it would probably be good for us to expose.
I get your point. I mean, like, some of my favorite people are Polish. Yes, I know all the Polish jokes, but some of the people are there. East Germany is another prime example. Before the Berlin Wall fell down, if you met anybody from there, they would tell you exactly how fucking bad it was and why so many people were hopping the wall. Go talk to them. You're right. In a lot of those Soviet bloc countries, it's anything that ends in a stand, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to have a different experience under that. But I mean, we don't need to go far. We've had examples of this in the U.S. Like, we went through these periods where major cities were taking Chicago. I'm not trying to pick on people in Chicago, and I'm not picking on demographics or anything like that. But how great is fucking Chicago? The heartbeat of Middle America, the city that was, wrought with beautiful history, beautiful things, some bad shit too. It has stories. It's historic. Nobody wants to live there. Nobody likes it there. Even the people that are there don't like it there. So if you have that, and they're not recovering from their last mayor who did a lot of fucking stupid shit with policies and implementations because she wanted to make sure her hair looked right in front of the cameras, and then fucking imposed lockdowns, decreased businesses, defunded the police. It's a hotbed. And sometimes when these guys get into power and they control something that bad and they implement these policies that are so harmful to the citizens there, it's not a quick recovery. It takes decades to recover from these stupid ideas that generally hurt those people that are there. And I'm just like, I just don't get it. Like, this guy personally should, if you're supporting him, you know what, move to New York City, live there under that. You really want to see what some of these areas are like, go look at some of the other more socialist areas. Like, fuck you.
So just imagine this, Brad. Imagine this. Imagine he wins, right? Just picture this. He wins, And then all of the people that think, oh man, what a great idea, they decide, you know what, they've got a socialist mayor of New York, let's go to New York. So then you get all the fucking socialists and socialist sympathizers to go, and then you get all the capitalists to fucking move out. Like, like, it would just be beautiful to watch, like, you know, like what would happen over a 10-year period when their policies are the ones that are put in place, and when the people that like those policies, like, capitalism can only be leached from so far. And what they're going to realize is that, you know, the only reason they even get an opportunity to you know, to enact some of these policies is because they're a parasite that leeches off of capitalism.
I agree, and here's another case in point, because I just remember this. KK had talked about this a while ago. Cuomo himself, during the pandemic, came on public TV and pushed back against a lot of these socialist ideas. And one of his closing arguments is, I'm asking my rich colleagues, I'm asking for the wealthy investors, I'm asking for people to move back to the city. And they're telling me no. We can't implement a lot of these socialist dream wishes because they won't come back and invest in you. And those companies and those people still haven't come back to New York City. And if you push them out further, those investments going to Dallas or Florida or Carolinas, they're going to stay there. They're not going to relocate billions of dollars to operate in another state and then say, you know what, oh, New York City, they just had a bad idea. They're never coming back. Once you lose that financial market, your fashion market, your power, New York City's excellence is not recognized around the world. That market will move, and you'll have places like Dallas recognized as the epicenter. It'll become one of those, you know, financial markets where the movers and shakers go to. And if you think they won't, they already did it once, and that was just under the pandemic, and they had a centrist, if you want to go Democrat, that was kind of retarded, but he at least kept that, he recognized where his bread was buttered and where most of New York City bread was buttered. And he had losses. If this guy gets in there, it's fucking done. Just look at AOC's district. She's not brought one single job to her district. She's not contributed, and her district's a shithole. And it's all progressive socialist run. Nobody wants to live there. Nobody enjoys it.
Don't a lot of those companies already have an exit strategy, like other offices elsewhere to move? A lot of the bigger financial
they do.
institutions.
Yeah, they're most of them are already operating out of Connecticut. I think Roger's more well versed in the economic market movers and shakers than I am. But I know that they have offices that they're developing there, and they're also building them in Austin and Texas. You have even California's hemorrhaging movers and shakers there. They're already building in Houston, Texas, like they're taking Texas. So if Texas becomes the financial capital of the United States and the big mover and shaker, you think somehow a very vastly Republican state is going to, you know, sit there and tolerate like a New York? No, they're not. They're going to keep those financial interests afloat. They're already moving. Just look.
Abby, you got the plus mark. What are you getting from the plus mark?
Oh, I have no idea. I just clicked on it. So what am I getting from it? I guess the anonymous thing, if I want to use it.
I was just going to ask, have you used the anonymous feature, Abby?
Hold on one second. I'm just getting my car somewhere. Have I used it? I used it in one of the hate rooms. And one of the very liberal rooms. And two, I've used it. Just because the one guy calls me out and yells at me if he sees me in the audience.
That is the exact same reason, well, almost, that JB said he uses it, because he wants to anonymously check out rooms where people constantly call him out and disrespect him.
But
yeah,
those are
there's
the
one.
cowards, though. Those are always the cowards. So like you can identify. We're not new to Clubhouse. We're all old veterans of it. Like, the same shit happens to Roger, happens to me. They'll create a room, call you out, and say, oh, what a danger and threat you are to democracy for your ideas or viewpoints or your comments. And then, you know, it's speaking from some Brazilian fucking embassy. And then they'll...
Bingo, that's the guy.
And then when you go in there and say, here, challenge me, or come up on stage and challenge me, what do? They run and create a room, and then they have these whole socialites, oh, like, I know best. Dude, you played a guitar your entire life and were a welfare cuck. That is the extent of what your contribution is. Like, don't spare me with your fucking intellectual knowledge on how the U.S. government and geopolitics and how cultural wars are significant to you. Like, peace, love, dope. You should have stayed in the 60s.
Well, that, if I may very quickly, that room that both of you are referring to is admittedly an echo chamber. They don't want to hear opposing opinions. And even if you're in the audience listening, my understanding is if they know you to be, it could be very respectful, very well-versed, very expressive, but it's the opposing opinion, they will kick your ass out of there.
That's why I miss Greg Sotelo. I honestly do. Having met the guy, I miss his dog walk rooms. I could argue with him till he would get mad as hell. But you know what? The man would sit down and have a beer with me.
Greg?
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, I've met him. And I had coffee with him. I totally agree with you. You can sit down and talk with them.
Yeah, I loved him. I loved him, man. I still consider him a friend today. If he called me up and said, hey, I need you here, I'd show up. I'd be ready to rock and roll.
So here's the difference with Greg and those people, because he agrees with them on like probably 98% of the issues. The difference is he also, as a first principle, is a heterodox thinker, and he will allow room for you to disagree. And so he was, I don't know if you guys remember, they tried canceling him and went into this big old thing about how he was such a bad guy and a misogynist and this and that and the other thing. And I disagree with Greg on virtually everything, but I have a lot of respect for him in the fact that he can represent what he believes, and he can have a conversation with people, like just as you were saying, you could have a beer with them. The difference is that he's not threatened. Like when you start taking these political ideas and then like make it part of your personality, then when somebody disagrees with you, you feel like like threatened in some way. And I think that the intelligent people, and Greg is one of them, are able to have those conversations without feeling threatened because he genuinely believes he's right. He genuinely believes that his ideas are best, and so he's willing to listen to yours, and he'll try to convince you where you're wrong, and have those conversations. The others, they don't want to have that conversation, and they don't want to have that conversation because they just don't have the depth, and so that's the thing. When they try to dismiss you like that, they just don't have depth.
Well, it's similar to there's a couple other rooms that are run, like the one that has Alzheimer's Thinking Forum. That one is again, it's just a collection of people, and not all of them, but it's like any amount of disagreement is immediately condemned and shot down, and it's like it turns into a whole rally. And like Greg, you're right. He would allow an argument, but he would believe he is right. But I also have watched Greg concede that he's been wrong, which is really great. I've been wrong many times, but Greg has also conceded on that front, and it was respectable. And again, I can admire somebody. You can come from a different lens. Like, we're good. We can still have a beer and still watch the kids play together and have a great time. But I don't know. Some of these other rooms, it's just I don't know where to go. Like, I gave up doing political rooms for a reason, Roger, because it was just, everything Trump bad. Nothing in this country was ever really discussed at a high level. And then it just kind of got boring.
I mean,
Yeah.
the irony with Greg is that when we met, we're like from kind of the same neighborhood, grew up very similarly. We have like 1 million people in common, but we're basically, it's not that we were so different from each other. It's a very different viewpoints, but culturally very much similar, and there were no differences, but for our political differences. But I found him to be incredibly pleasant and reasonable that way.
Yeah.
So
And I've had heated arguments.
If I'm in the audience of the other one, he will say my name and start cursing about me. So if you ask me, I can't go in there, or this anonymous thing is kind of the only way if I feel like listening to it, but not that much.
Well, let me ask you this: why is anybody even curious to listen to that? Like, I've always wondered, like, the people that think that, like, I'm full of shit or I'm an asshole or they just can't tolerate me in some way. I don't understand why people that don't want to hear this stuff, if that's their position, then why do they come around? Like, they would come in these rooms. They're probably in this room right now. At least some of them. I just don't get that, and I like. So, Abby, explain to me why you want to listen to what they have to say.
I for lots of reasons, but some of it has to do with kind of knowing how far they'll, what their plan of action is, how far they plan to go. I mean, especially with a lot of the protests, I want to hear, like, what's motivating them and also what they're planning to do. I mean, in some of these spaces, you can hear people that are actually in that space. That guy was talking about going in and slapping or hitting and taking out, like, by physical against someone else. I can't remember all the context of it, but he actually was talking about that. So so my curiosity is just to not so much that I need to be in an echo chamber. I mean, I'll be happy to debate anyone, but I want to hear where they plan to take it.
Yeah, Abby, I have to agree with you with that. I mean, that's maybe my psych major. I like knowing why people think the way that they think. And Roger, I like the anonymous thing because I don't. I like to be able to listen in when I've got the kids, and I'll generally pop up unanonymously when I'm able to talk, or if it's a long time or a short time. Because I always feel bad. I'll be honest. I'm just a girl. I feel bad denying an invite to come on stage to talk. I actually feel guilty.
You do it to me every day.
I listen. I come in here so that I'm in the room, JB, but it breaks my heart because I'm like, oh my god, I have to say no, and I feel bad. I actually genuinely feel bad, and I know it's silly, but that's just me.
And those polyurethane bags and toe tag you, send your ass down to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
It would be good compost. Wouldn't that be good compost though?
Allows me to not feel guilty for denying to come on stage, because I only go into spaces with people that I like, or people that have vastly different perspectives of me, because I find the mind so interesting. I love to see how absolutely warped people think, and I get a kick off of hearing what created that, what was their environment, what is their upbringing, what lies do they tell to justify why they feel that way. It's actually quite fascinating. So anyways,
and with that, I want to welcome back JB, and your timing is impeccable because I have to get the heck out of here. It was a pleasure and a privilege helping run your room. Goodbye, everybody on stage. Goodbye, everybody in the audience. And a shameless plug, and I'll land it here. For those of you that have not been to my Saturday or Sunday morning rooms, you all are encouraged to come in, get your fresh five. Even if you totally disagree with me, just have a take and don't suck. Be careful on the clubhouse streets. Ciao.
Thanks, Steve.
But I wanted to say, Roger, the reason I'll listen to them is because it saves me the hours of going through and having to research it through Twitter or online news sources. Because I could read CNN, I don't pay attention to a lot of any of the primary news sites, Fox, CNN, or them. I'll actually research and kind of look at what's trending and see and dive into it and watch the U.S. government sites as well as some state government sites. But when I
He
hear
looks
these
at
guys,
state
it's like it
government
saves me
websites.
time like having to read or look through the twaddle that exists on like Clapper, Crapper, Twitter, Twatter, Extra, whatever the fuck app that there is out there. I don't really want to sit there and spend my days doing that, and I work while I'm on Clubhouse. Like I'm spending my time fucking right now working. I don't want to have to deal with that shit.
Really? You're working
So
while you're talking?
I hear
on
what you're
Clubhouse?
saying. I guess and I used to like hearing this stuff, but now what I've realized is that they're so diluted that their thoughts don't even make sense. Like if you listen to them describe where they thought the country was heading into the last month before the election, they had this view because they were so much in their echo chamber that they thought that they were going to win. They really thought they were going to win. In fact, when I would predict, that Trump was going to win and win in a landslide, you have some of them that would hedge a little bit and go, well, only if the country is still as racist as it's always been. They say something stupid like that. But oftentimes they would just be like, oh, you're just wrong and you don't understand politics. And so when I called it nearly perfect, the only person that called it more exact than I did was Beaver. I'll give him his credit. He called he pinpointed 100% the electoral count. You got to give him his props. I've seen the pre-election post that he had where he called it out specifically. So you do got to give props where it belongs. So he's the only person that called it more perfectly than I did. But I was very vocal about, it was going to be a landslide for Trump. These guys, they don't touch grass. They don't understand this at all. They didn't understand the tide was turning. They didn't understand what was turning the tide. They didn't understand the people that were leaving their tribe. They just didn't understand any of it. They didn't get it because they don't talk to people in good faith. And I think that should be the rule moving forward. Is like, hey, look, if you're willing to discuss these things in good faith, welcome to the table. Let's have a conversation about it. But if what they feel is that they don't want to hear you, let them be in their echo chamber. Let them just go as far into the abyss as humanly possible. Now, the only exception I would make to that, and maybe this could be where you guys are going with this, is that if what they're planning and plotting is criminal and you want to eavesdrop on that and to be able to be aware of that, that's fine. But as far as they're going to strategically come up with some idea that's going to take over the world, probably not. They're the dumbest of the dumb.
Well, I agree with you, and yes, I will co-sign and say that I've known Beaver since season 1, and Beaver is, he was great. He did predict. He even helped in some of our club rooms, and Beaver's always been really great. But aside from that, I agree with you, but I would say it was interesting to have the debates because you have people that are sitting there going, I don't know which side I want to believe. I don't know which ideas to hear. I hear this and I hear that, and it's a lot of rhetoric. And when you actually get these individuals and you see what they're coming with, and then you're able to expand on it, you're able to counter it, then all of a sudden, those people in the middle were they were able to see, and they reacted accordingly in this past 2020 election. How many people say that they don't really like Trump, but they voted for the guy? Tell me where these progressives think they had any gains. You didn't. You had a sweep. You got spanked like you were a newborn, just born. It was sad, and you're still crying about it. You're holding up fucking a county in New York as saying, proof the election was rigged and stolen. Who the fuck rigged it? It was your administration. Kamala was the VP. If anybody was going to rig it, it was her. And oh, by the way, she won New York. So Rockland County doesn't fucking count. It doesn't matter if you found inconsistency, because she won it. No one gives a shit. Your state's going down anyway. So, I mean, at the end of it, I guess I'm with you. There's no more. The further they move, the dumber they sound. And I mean, how many points are you and I going to debate? UBI, universal health care. What else is there? How socialism, how everything should be free, but yet you somehow or another you should get a pay increase. What else is there? Oh, that everybody should have their gender just removed and everybody be equal, but nobody wants to have that because everybody wants to play the oppression Olympics and wants to virtue signal that they need to get special treatment. Everybody should have free education for the rest of their life so they can get educated to do fucking what? Just live off of the government tit? How to sign their name at the bottom of a form? I don't understand, like, any of these ideas that we've battled for 4 years on this app.
Yeah.
Roger, to answer something that you asked, I wish that the anonymous thing existed right after the election. So some of those spaces where I just wanted to hear the Arams and the Aarons like just cry, and the goats and all the people that were jumping on us, just to be able to go in those spaces and sit and listen without, your name being there would have been great. Like that. That's something that, in hindsight, would have been an enjoyable time limit.
Oh, but hey, you know what? The one person that I wanted after the election was Thugger Biden, and that piece of shit fled, and he was the one that constantly was the troglodyte that went into rooms. Roger, you know him well. Isaiah Thugger Biden, whatever fucking name he wanted to go by that week. This was interesting because he got ran off the app afterwards. Go too, like, cried about how great the Democrat is, how great Biden was. All of these people that were backing up shit that nobody believed, nobody anywhere. You lost solid blue districts. Like, I don't even know how. Like B plus 8, B plus 100, and you still lost districts.
Yeah.
How the fuck?
I will tell you how that happened. It's a combination. It's not just one thing, but you have to fucking tip your hat to fucking what Trump was doing. When he was listening to, like, he would listen to his kid that would tell him, like, hey, you should go on this podcast, go on that podcast. He was going on these niche podcasts and tapping into fucking people that typically don't even vote. And he would just go there and, like, the people that don't vote, they're maybe not apolitical, but they're just not motivated enough to go vote. And all they would hear is they'd hear the one crazy uncle that loves Trump, and then they'd hear the other crazy uncle that thinks that Trump is a fascist, right? And so they don't know what to think. And then they'd see him on a fucking podcast, being a human being, cracking jokes and just being fucking a normal dude. And they were like, wait a minute, this guy doesn't seem like any of the stuff that people have described him as. I think what happened was, this is a glimpse into the future of how campaigns are going to be ran and how you can reach audiences in a way that traditional media didn't allow you to before. I think that he outsmarted them in every way in this election. And, by the way, they ran a terrible campaign. They picked a terrible person. They ran a terrible campaign. And the person here's the crazy thing. You spend all this time talking about defund the police, and then you run a prosecutor. It's just like, I can tell you that there are people that are far left that hate Donald Trump that stayed home and didn't vote for her. I know some of these people. I know people that are very far left. I'm talking people that live in Berkeley, right? That just can't stand Kamala Harris, and for completely different reasons than we can't stand her. And so they ran somebody that was so unlikable that the far right was going to hate her, the far left hated her. The only people that were in support of it were the delusional, never Trumpers, and then the people that just don't think for themselves and just check a box for anybody that's got the fucking the blue.
Yeah, Roger. So hold on, Nathan, a second. Yeah, Roger, I agree with you because that podcast on Joe Rogan, if you look at it, it excoriated, like, Bernie did not do well on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like, he just did it. Like, Rogan cooked him in ways that were glaring. And Rogan did kind of cook Trump. Trump did Trump things. But Trump came off as, like you said, normal and everything else. And Rogan was able to kind of push on Bernie even, and get Bernie to become wishy-washy in terms of his support and all of these, like, moral beliefs that he held. And Rogan kind of showed him very softly, like, hey, you're flipping on this. You're being hypocritical. And it's true. 3 hours on a podcast is going to expose you. It's going to sit there and show your true colors. And I think a lot of people on the left got exposed. Rogan's going to be the test case. He's going to do it again. And hopefully, if somebody's going to back somebody, that they're able to survive that for 3 hours.
Well, Mojo, you made a great point, and it goes way back, right? And people don't want to talk about it. The start of the downfall of the Democrats, right? It started with Hillary Clinton, right? And I was talking to my Republican friends, and we made a great point. Is this? We know that pretty much all Republicans hate Hillary Clinton, right? Check. We know that half of the Democrats don't like her either. Check. Why in the hell would you run somebody like that, right? And that's their problem. They go like a prosecutor as president. I mean, it goes against common sense, and that's why Donald Trump blew them out the water, because they don't have any common sense. They would say, hey, I'm misogynistic, and because I'm like, hey, I would rather have Bernie because his policies. Well, Nathan, you're this, and that's pretty much calling me every name in the book, and now I'm gone out of the Democrat Party. So I mean,
Maybe she won. The difference only with Hillary and Kamala is that Hillary actually won a primary. Like, you have to acknowledge that. But, yeah, I agree with you. Both really stuck candidates, but at least one of them democratically won a primary.
Yeah, when I talk to Democrats about it, I'm talking about serious Democrats, they're like, well, we know we cheated against Bernie, we rigged it, we didn't have a primary for Kamala, right? So what? Just deal with it. You can't with those type of shenanigans. You're going to lose people, independents. You're going to lose a lot of people, and that's the unfortunate thing. But I don't think that the Democrat Party is going to win, even when Donald Trump, his term is up. I seriously don't think that the Democrats will win an election. The next election.
I actually think there's a possibility, but it's not going to happen in the near future. But I think that just like the Republican Party has had, some shaping that's gone on, if the Fetterman voice could resonate loud enough and the normal people rise up and say, you know what, this guy's talking sense. If the Democratic Party were to be reimagined under the image of Fetterman, I think they would win in a landslide.
Brother, it's too. Listen, I tell people this, right? I'm used to be a Democrat. Now, if I have a conversation with conservatives, Brad, AB, and they would have like a 10-minute conversation without you cursing me out, they lost. I just don't see it happening. They cannot talk to an independent and convince an independent to vote their way, right? And
they need to understand the issues where they get play and the issues where they don't. For example, the abortion issue is still a winning issue in most states. It's a winning issue, right? And on a national scale, it's a winning issue for Democrats because the majority of voters nationally are more sympathetic to pro-choice than pro-life views. I know that there's going to be people that don't like that, but that's the truth. If they were to just talk about that a little bit more